श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। नमः सभाभ्यः सभापतिभ्यश्च वो नमः। वन्दे वन्दारुमन्दारमिन्दिरानन्दकन्दलम् अमन्दानन्दसन्दोहबन्धुरं सिन्धुराननम् वेदण्डास्यं गिरां देवीं सद्गुरोः पादपङ्कजं जगद्गुरुंश्च शृङ्गाद्रिस्थितान् वन्देऽर्थसिद्धये माला सुधा कुंभ विबोध मुद्रा विद्या विराजत्करवारिजाताम् अपार कारुण्य सुधाम्बुराशिं श्री शारदाम्बां प्रणतोऽस्मि नित्यम् सत्यज्ञान सुख स्वरूपममलं क्षीराब्धिमध्यस्थितं योगारूढमतिप्रसन्नवदनं भूषा सहस्रोज्ज्वलं रक्षञ्चक्रपिनाकसाभयवरान् बिभ्राणमर्कच्छविम् छत्रीभूतफणीन्द्रमिन्दुधवलं लक्ष्मीनृसिंहं भजे। गिरां देवी वाणी विमलगुणिनौमे च पितरौ गुरुत्तंसाः मल्लाप्रगडकुलभूषा मणिबुधः कुटुम्बाख्यः शास्त्री रसिकहृदया ये सहृदयाः निजाशीर्भिः कुर्युः सफलवचसं मां करुणया। शङ्कारूपेण मच्चित्तं पङ्कीकृतमभूद्यया किङ्करीयस्य सामाया शङ्कराचार्यमाश्रये। प्रह्लादवरदो देवो यो नृसिंहः परो हरिः नृसिंहोपासकं नित्यं तन्नृसिंहगुरुं भजे। श्रीसच्चिदानन्दशिवाभिनव्य नृसिंहभारत्यभिधान्यतीन्द्रान् विद्यानिधीन् मन्त्रनिधीन् सदात्मनिष्ठान् भजे मानवशम्भुरूपान् सदात्मध्याननिरतं विषयेभ्यः पराङ्मुखम् नौमि शास्त्रेषु निष्णातं चन्द्रशेखरभारतीं विवेकिनं महाप्रज्ञं धैर्यौदार्यक्षमानिधिं सदाभिनवपूर्वं तं विद्यातीर्थगुरुं भजे। अज्ञानाञ्जाह्नवीतीर्थं विद्यातीर्थं विवेकिनां सर्वेषां सुखदं तीर्थं भारतीतीर्थमाश्रये। विद्याविनयसम्पन्नं वीतरागं विवेकिनं वन्दे वेदान्ततत्त्वज्ञं विधुशेखरभारतीं नारायणं पद्मभुवं वसिष्ठं शक्तिं च तत्पुत्रपराशरं च व्यासं शुकं गौडपदं महान्तं गोविन्दयोगीन्द्रम् अथास्य शिष्यं श्रीशङ्कराचार्यम् अथास्य पद्मपादं च हस्तामलकं च शिष्यं तन्तोटकं वार्तिककारम् अन्यानस्मद्गुरून् सन्ततमानतोऽस्मि। अनन्तसंसारसमुद्रतारनौकायिताभ्यां गुरुभक्तिदाभ्यां वैराग्यसाम्राज्यदपूजनाभ्यां नमो नमः श्रीगुरुपादुकाभ्याम्। अविद्यारण्यकान्तारे भ्रमतां प्राणिनां सदा विद्यामार्गोपदेष्टारं विद्यारण्यगुरुं श्रये। प्रणम्य परमात्मानं श्रीविद्यातीर्थरूपिणं प्राचीनशङ्करजये सारः संगृह्यते स्फुटम्। Namaskaras to the Padapadmas of Ubhaya Jagadgurus and to the Namaskaram to the Padapadmas of Sharadamba, and with Namaskarams to all of you who have been faithfully listening to Bhagavad Pada's Charitra over the last Saptaha. Namaskarams to you all. So, with the grace of Acharyas, with the grace of the Jagadgurus, with the grace of Sharadamba, we have finally arrived at the crowning moment of Bhagavad Pada's Charitra, the Digvijaya and his Sarvajna Pitharohana. So, his conquering of the four directions of India and his ascension to the Sarvajna Pitha in Kashmira. So, yesterday we saw that once Bhagavad Pada's mother had passed away and Padmapada had returned from his Tirtha Yatra, Bhagavad Pada had decided to do the titular act of this kavya. So this is called Digvijaya. The Digvijaya does not actually come until the 15th sarga out of the 16 sargas that are there. Kakubho Vijagishuresha Sarvah Prathamam Kakubho Vijagishuresha Sarvaha Prathamam Setumudaradhif Pratasthe. So the first place that Bhagavad Pada went was he started with the southern direction. He went straight to Rameshwara. So we say Bharat Desha is Asetu Shitachalam. So Asetu. Setu is where Ramachandra built the bridge to Lanka, the Rama Setu, and Shitachala is the Himalayas. So Bharata Varsha is the spread of land from the Ramasetu all the way to the Himalayas. So first Bhagavad Pada went south. Usually this is not something that happens. People do not go south, right? South is Yama's direction. But the one person I could think of that started their Vijaya Yatra south was none other than Hanuman. So the first thing he did was he decided to go south. So Dakshino Dakshinam Disham, he says, Valmiki Maharshi says. So he was Dakshina, he was capable. So he decided to go straight, face the Dakshina Disha head on. And there is another, of course, Daivamurti, Dakshina Murti, who faces south, because Jnana conquers death. Jnana transcends death. Jnana laughs in the face of death. So in Kathopanishad they say, Mrityur Yasyopasechanam. So Mrityu is like the water that you do Achamana. Actually, Upasechana is a side dish. So for one who has attained Jnana, Mrityu becomes a small issue that the Jnani is least bothered about. So because Bhagavad Pada is a Jnani of the highest order, he starts his Vijaya Yatra by taking the southern direction head on. So as he goes, so he went to Ramasetu and now he's working his way up. And here he comes to Kanchi Nagara. So Kanchi has a lot of importance. Abhipujya Satatra Ramanatham. So first, Ramanatha is Rameshwara. He did puja to Rameshwara there in the south. And Saha Pandey Swavashe Vidhaya Cholan Dravidanscha. So the Cholas, Dravidas, and Pandya. So these are all the Tamil, Telugu, parts of Karnataka, parts of Kerala. So that region. He defeated all the Vidwans there, and then Tato Jagama Kanchim Nagarim Hastigirer Nitamba Kanchim. So Kanchi is a very beautiful city because it combines three devatas: Vishnu Kanchi, Shiva Kanchi, and of course Kamakshi is the devata of the city. So Vishnu Kanchi, Shiva Kanchi, Vishnu Kanchi, and Kanchi Devi herself, Kanchi Kamakshi. So Hastigiri is where Varadara Swami is. So it is also an important place for Vaishnavas, for Vishnu Bhaktas. There's also a Narasimha temple there that is one of the 108 Divya Deshams of Vaishnavas. So there the Narasimha is Kamasika Narasimha. There is a very beautiful Ashtaka written by Vedanta Deshika there about the Yoga Narasimha there, but that is a side issue. But here he came to Kanchi, and there Bhagavad Pada installed a Shri Chakra. So Sakala Bhavana Pratisthapaka Shri Chakra Pratishtha Yasholankritanam. So they say, right? So he installed the Shri Chakra there. The Shri Chakra itself, Shri Chakram Shivayor Vapuhu, it is said. So Shri Chakra is nothing but the graphical representation, the graphical form of Shiva and Shakti put together. So there are 9 triangles in the center of the Shri Chakra. So there is a Bindu, which is Paramatma, 4 triangles going up, 5 triangles going down. The 4 triangles going up are the Shiva, or Shiva, who is pulling us upwards out of samsara. The bottom 5 are Devi's triangles, which are pulling us into samsara because she is Maya Shakti. She is Adi Parashakti. So there he installed such the Shri Chakra, and Suradhama Tatra Karayitva. He made a very beautiful temple there for Kamakshi Devi. Paravidya Charananusari Chitram. So as ordained by Sri Vidya, because of the Dashamaha Vidyas, of the 10 ways of worshipping Shakti, Sri Vidya is the greatest. So there is actually one saying in Shastra, Abhyuktanan Nama Shripada Purvam Prayumjita. So if something is the greatest of its class, you put a Shri in front of it. So like Shri Phala, Shri Giri, like Shri Shaila is the greatest of Giri. So Shri Giri and Shri Chakra. Of all the yantras that could possibly exist for devatas, the Shri Chakra is the greatest. So he installed that there. And Apavarya Satantrikan Anita Apavarya Satantrikan. So he removed all the tamasic practices. We'll talk about the way that Bhagavad Pada dealt with Devata Upasanas and Devata Archanas and Devata Aradhanas later. But there, Bhagavatyaha Shruti Sammatam Saparyam Atanit. He installed worship of Devi there in a Vaidika manner. So of course, we haven't talked about Saundarya Lahari yet, which is Bhagavad Pada's one of the most illustrious works that he has written. So they say that the devata that Bhagavad Pada intended Saundarya Lahari for is Kamakshi, because the exact description of Kamakshi Devi's form comes within the first 15 shlokas. Kvanat Kanchi Dama Karikalabha Kumbhas Tananata Parikshina Madhye Parinata Sharachandra Vadana Dhanur Banam Pasham Srunimapi Dadhana Karatalaihi Purastadastanna Puramatitu Raho Purushika. So Kodat Kanchi Dama. So the word Kanchi comes in the shloka. Kanchi means the Vaddana. So the belt worn around the waist that has bells on it. So her that I may that Devi Purastam Astat, may she appear in front of me with Kvanat Kanchi Dama, with ringing bells upon the waist. Karikalabha Kumbhastananata, slightly bent by the weight of her chest. Parikshina Madhye, with a slender waist. Parinata Sharachandra Vadana, with a face like the full moon. Dhanur Banan Pasham Srinimapi Dadhana, so holding Dhanus, the 5 banas that represent the Tanmatras, the Dhanus, the sugarcane bow that represents the Manas, holding the Pashankushas, which are Krodha and Krodha Karankushojjala, Manorupekshukodanda, Panchatanmatra Sayaka, right? So those 2 Pashankushas. And with that, Purastad Astannaha, but who is this Devi? Puramatituhu Aho Purushika. This is a beautiful saying. So she is the Aho Purushika of Puramatitra. Aho Purushika means Ahankara Swarupini. Puramatitra, the destroyer of the Puras, Tripurari Shiva. So she is the manifestation of Shiva's Ahankara. This is not the Ahankara of Garva, but in Srividya there are 2 words for this called Prakasha and Vimarsha. So Prakasha is Chaitanya. So Shiva is Prakasha, Devi is Vimarsha. So even when we say Rakta Shukla Prabha Mishram, the Rakta is Vimarsha, Shukla is Prakasha. So Shiva is white, Devi is red in color. So that Adi Chaitanyam, which is personified as Shiva, became, which is Nischala, Nirguna, Nirvikara. But then it became Kameshwara. It got a desire that it was the master of. Having gotten the desire, it reflected upon itself, Vimarsha. And then that reflection upon itself coupled with the kama is Devi's form. So Aho Purushika, Devi is the Ahankara, the I-ness that Shiva feels upon himself is Devi. And not just any Shiva, Puramatitra. So the Puras are the Dehas, not just the Tripuras. So even for Shiva who transcends these 3 bodies, she is the Ahankara Swarupini. So that is the Kamakshi that Bhagavatpada is worshipping there, and that he installed a Shri Chakra for. And having done that, he then proceeds to Andhra Desha. This is a shloka that Sannidhanam Varu and Mahasannidhanam Varu tell every time they come, when they come for Vijay Yatra in Andhra Desha. Being an Andhra myself, I am very happy that Bhagavatpada came here, and I'm very proud of the way that the Andhras looked after Bhagavatpada in the shloka. Nijapada Saroja Sevanayi Vinayena Swayam Agatan Athandran Anugrahya Sa Venkatachalesham Pranipatya Upajagame Vidarbha Rajadhanim. So this is actually, let me tell the meaning first. Nijapada Saroja Sevanaye Vinayena Swayamagata Nathandran. So here Bhagavatpada did not have to go out and defeat Panditas that much. the people there themselves came with Vinaya to Bhagavatpada and served his feet. So going there, and then he did Namaskaram to Venkatachalesha. So Kalo Venkatanayaka has the saying, right? So Venkateshwara in Tirupati is one of the greatest devatas that we have in Kali Yuga. So he did Namaskaram to Venkateshwara there, did Archana, installed a Dhanakarshana Yantra, and then went to the Vidarbha kingdom. This shloka, if you do not read properly, it will give the wrong meaning. Nijapada Saroja Sevanaye Vinayena Swayamagata Nathandran. If you stop there, then the way it sounds is Anugrahya Sa Venkatachalesham. He did Anugraha to Venkateshwara Swami, Pranipatyo Pajagame Vidarbha Rajadharan. He did Namaskaram to all the people there and then went to Vidarbha. So that is why when we read shlokas, when we chant shlokas, it is very important that we stop in the right places. So Andhran Anugrahya, giving Anugraha to the Andhras that served him, and then Venkatachalesham Pranipatya, doing Pranipata, doing Namaskara to Venkateshwara, then he went to the Vidarbha kingdom. So we should not stop just because the line ends there. Nijapada Saroja Sevanaye Vinayena Swayamagata Nathandran Anugrahya Sa Venkatachalesham Pranipatya Upajagame Vidarbha Rajadhanim. Now think Bhagavatpada put a Dhanakarshana Yantra in Tirupati, and think of the Vaibhava of Tirupati today. Enough said. So then from there he went to Gokarna, Dwaraka, Ujjaini. So this is the western side of India now. So he defeated Shaivas in Gokarna, Vaishnavas in Dwaraka and in Ujjaini. And then he came to do a vada with this Pandita named Bhattabhaskara. This Bhattabhaskara is very close to Advaita, but His Siddhanta is Bheda Bheda or Achintya Bheda Bheda. So here there is a long discussion, almost as long as the discussion that he had with Mandana Mishra. But here the discussion is about the locus of avidya. So where does avidya exist? So Bhagavad Pada's position is that Prakriti or Maya causes a difference, causes a bheda between Jiva and Ishvara. So avidya, Maya, these two words are kind of used willy-nilly. I shouldn't say that, but these two words are not used as exactly as other terms are used in other shastras like Nyaya and Mimamsa. But the general maxim that we can usually apply is avidyopadhiko jivaha karanopadhir ishvaraha. So Maya causes avidya. Maya is the upadhi of Ishvara. Avidya is the upadhi of Jiva. So generally that's the maxim that we accept. So what Bhattabhaskara was saying was Maya has to exist in either Jiva or in Ishvara, meaning that the difference between Jiva and Ishvara is pre-existing, meaning that it was Anadi. This difference is Anadi. So there are some things called Shadasmakam Anadayaha, goes the shloka. So we hold that the Jiva Ishvara Bheda is Anadi. But what this Bhattabhaskara is saying is because Maya exists in either Jiva and Ishvara, and because it is Maya that causes the difference between Jiva and Ishvara are fundamentally different things. There is no way you can show Aikya between them. And then Bhagavad Pada said, no, it exists not in Ishvara who has Maya as his Upadhi, nor in Jiva who is Kinchitnya and has Maya has Avidya as his Upadhi, but Maya exists in pure Chaitanya. But then he says, how does avidya, which is of the nature of delusion, factor into pure Chaitanya? Bhagavad Pada says, because Brahman is not avidya avachinna or Maya, Brahman is not Maya avachinna, Brahman is Maya upahita. So the word upahita means, the saying in Shastra, the example is kakavat graham. So I am going to my friend's house. I come to the street and I ask someone there, which one is my friend's house? They say the house with the crow on it. So there is a blue house, a red house, and a green house. There is a crow sitting on the red house. So they say the house with the crow on it is your friend's house. So as I go towards the friend's house, the crow flies away and sits on the blue house. So do I change and go to the blue house instead? No, I go to the red house. But what was the lakshana that they told me to go to the red house? That it is a house with a crow. So although the lakshana that we use to discern the house is having crowness, the crow itself does not factor into the true nature of the house. So just because the crow goes and flies to another house, I will not change the house I'm going to. The crow being on the house at that time is just a way for me to distinguish what the house is, and then the crow can leave. But the house has nothing to do with the crow. In the same way, Maya has nothing to do with Brahman. Brahman is pure Chaitanya nonetheless. It is avidyopahita. So this vada went on like this for a long time. And in the end, of course, Bhattabhaskara had to bow his head to Bhagavad Pada's irrefutable ironclad arguments. Then he also had arguments with the Jainas. These arguments are a bit more fun to read because we ourselves can refute them based on some of the things that they say. So Bhagavad Pada here asked the Jainas, what is your jiva like? The Jainas said, it is a size that is bound by karma. So Bhagavad Pada says, if the size is bound, this jiva is occupying different things. So there is a jiva inside a fly, there is a jiva inside an ant, there is a jiva inside an elephant, there is a jiva inside a tiger. So there are different bodies. So how does this jiva fill that body? So then the Jainas said, if it is a bigger body, more jivas come to fill it. So an elephant will have some 10,000 jivas inside it. A fly will have one jiva inside it. So then Bhagavad Pada says, if there are several jivas in one body, then there are several sentient beings that are trying to use one instrument, which means that they cannot act in unison. They cannot act in perfect unison. Several different bodies, several different conscious entities will drag the instrument in several different ways. And then they said, no, that is not the case. There is a chariot with 4 horses. The chariot is going forward. Bhagavad Pada is saying, true, but there is only one driver. There is only one Sarathi. So because one Sarathi is controlling where the instruments take the chariot is going in one direction. However, here the Jiva is the Sarathi, right? As per this, the Indriyas are the horses. The Jiva is the Sarathi. Even Sannidhanam Varu beautifully explained this as described in Kathopanishad in the last episode of Vande Lokagurum, in the 4th episode. So And the jiva is the sarathi of the body. So the jiva, whatever the jiva says is what the body does. So several independent conscious entities cannot act in perfect unison. So this mata is null. So he did khandana of them too. And then from there he went to northeastern India about. Iti madhyamakeshu bhagna darpeshu atha bhashyani sa naimishe vitatya daradan bharatanscha shurasenan kuru panchala mukhan bahun ajayishit. So then he destroyed such people like the Bauddhas. So Bauddhas have 4 schools within them: Madhyamikas, Yogacharas, Sutrantikas, like this. So he destroyed those schools. He taught his Bhashya for some time in Naimisharanya. And then he also conquered the deshas of Daradas, Bharatas, Shurasenas, Kurus, and Panchalas. So these are all northeastern India. So the Gangetic plain, close to Kashmir. Kuru Panchalas will come closer to northeastern India. And then from there, Nijashishya padam gatanudicyan iti kritva atha videha kosaladyair kosala vidarbha kosaladyair vihitapachitihi tathangavangeshu ayam astirya yashah jagama gaudan. So from there he went to Ayodhya and Kosala, which are coming a bit closer to central India. Then he went to Anga, Vanga, Gaudas. So Vanga is Bengal. So the eastern part of India, Bay of Bengal, that strip of land, Assam, all of those places, Bhagavad Pada did Jaya of. So thus he has covered all 4 directions. The Jaitra Yatra was complete perfectly. And as he went through these places, it is not just these darshanas that Bhagavad Pada argued with, but he also reformed the Devata Aradhana Vyavastha. So here Vidyaranya Swami writes a very nice shloka. Shaktaihi Pashupatairapi Kshapanakaih Kapalikair Vaishnavaih Apyanyairahilaih Khilang Khalu Khalair Durvadibhi Vaidikam Margam Rakshitu Mugravadi Vijayam No Manaheto Vyadhat Sarvajnana Yatosya Sambhavati Sanmanagrahagrastata. So there are Shaktas, there are Pashupatas, there are Kapalikas, there are Vaishnavas. So all of these people were fighting amongst themselves. So Sanatana Dharma was unable to present a united front. Shaktas were defaming and scorning Shaivas, Vaishnavas, Sauras, Ganapatyas. The Shaivas were scorning the Shaktas and the Vaishnavas. And even within these, so Pashupatas and Kapalikas, these two have different ways of worship. Vaishnavas, again, within Vaishnavas, there are several different forms. Within Vaishnavas, there are Shri Vaishnavas, Dash Vaishnavas, there are several strands, several Agamas, Pancharatras, Vaikhanasas. There are several ways of worship and several Agama Paramparas, even within Vaishnava tradition itself. So we were split. So what happened with all of these people quarreling among themselves is Vaidika Margam Khilam, the Vaidika Marga itself started to decay. So what Bhagavad Pada did was he introduced the brilliant system of Panchayatana. So we can never force a faith upon someone. So regardless of whether they believe in Advaita or not, we cannot force Advaita upon someone else. We cannot say, let's say the person is a staunch Vaishnava and he believes that Vishnu is the greatest, greater than all other devatas. We should not force him and say, no, Shiva is the greatest, you are wrong. So what Bhagavad Pada did was, we believe in Chaitanya. That Chaitanya can take the form of any devata, any Vaidika devata that is seen by Maharshis. Just because we say that Chaitanya can take any form, does not mean that we can just pick whatever human we want or whatever form we want and start worshipping it. We should not put cricket bats in Ganapati's hand and pencils and water bottles in Hanuman's hand. Such things we should not do. These devatas are mantra murtis that are not arbitrary. These are devatas, these are murtis, forms that have been seen by Maharshis through intense tapas and they have been revealed to us. So that Chaitanya takes upon certain forms in order to do anugraha to sadhakas. Sadhakanam hitarthaya brahmano rupakalpanam. So that Nirguna Brahman takes upon forms to help sadhakas along their way to realization. So we do not begrudge people who believe that Shakti is the greatest, Shiva is the greatest, Vishnu is the greatest, Ganapati is we do not begrudge them that, because the Ganapati that they're saying is Brahman, the Shiva that they're saying is Brahman, the Vishnu that they're saying is Brahman, is exactly the same Brahman that we ourselves say. Only thing they say is Brahman is Vishnu is what we say. They say Vishnu is Brahman. Small difference, but one that we can learn to live with. The only thing we need to have is they should not be detrimental to others' worship. So you can be a Vaishnava in all happiness as long as you don't do Shivaninda. Be a Shaiva as long as you don't do Vishnu Ninda. Be a Shakta as long as you don't do Shivaninda or Vishnu Ninda. So this is the idea that Bhagavad spread among the masses. So how do you, and quite frankly, even within the traditions, Shiva is the greatest devotee of Vishnu. Um, so Bhagavad says in Shivananda Lahari, Pujyat Pujyatarassa eva hi Banatvam Vrishabhatvam Ardhavapusha Bharyatvam Aryapate Ghonitvam Sakhata Mridangavahata Chetyadi Rupam Dadhau Tatpade Nayanarpanancha Kritavan Tvad Deha Bhago Hari Pujyat Pujyatarassa eva hi Nachet Kova Tadanyodhikaha. So Bhagavad says, Bhagavan Shiva, Vishnu is the greatest of everyone because he is your devotee. He became Nandi to serve you. He became your wife in Mohini Avatara. He became your arrow in Tripurasara Samhara. He became Ghoni. He became a Varaha to find the base when you became Agnilinga. He is your friend. He plays the Mridanga as you do Tandava. So he even he plucked out his eye and offered it to your feet. So because Vishnu is your devotee, he is the greatest. And then of course Vaishnavas also say there is Ahirbudhe Samhita, which does great, which is a very important Pancharatra Agama. And that is taught by Shiva. Shiva is the guru of that. There is a prarthana done to Shiva at the beginning of that Agama. So there is nowhere does Vaishnava tradition say to disrespect Shiva, nor does Shaiva tradition say to disrespect Vishnu. So all that they're saying is Vishnu is the greatest, Shiva is his sevaka. In the same way, Shiva is the greatest, Vishnu is his sevaka. So both Vishnu and Shiva are Abhimana Patras or Archya Devatas for both. So what Bhagavad did was, if anyone prays to something, they will eventually learn to worship it. So what they said was, perfect, fine. So let us take this Panchayatana system of worship. So we have generally split all forms of worship into 5. Adityam, Ambikam, Vishnum, Gananatham, Maheshwaram. So there are these 5 general forms of Devataradhana. So Adityam, there are Sauras who worship Surya Bhagavan. Ambika, so there are Shaktas who worship Devi. So within, so Devi, and then Gananatham, Vishnumurti, Gananatha, Ganesha, Maheshwara, Shiva. So he divided all of these. So Surya Radhanas, okay, all of you come and sit in with Sauryas. Then Adityam, Ambika, Shaktas, Kali, Durga, Tara, Bhuvaneshwari, Lalita, Matangi, Matangi, Annapurna. You worship and you like any of these devatas, come. You are all Shaktas, sit here. Then Shaivas, Rudra, Bhairava, Dakshinamurti, Sadashiva, Paramashiva, Nataraja, all of these devatas, come, sit here. You're all Shaivas. Vaishnavas, Rama, Krishna, Narasimha, Dhanvantari, Hayagriva, all of you people, come, sit. You're all Vaishnavas. Ganapati Upasakas, Haridra Ganapati, Uchishta Ganapati, Vallabha Ganapati, Maha Ganapati, all of you come. Panchamukha Ganapati, Heramba Ganapati, all of you come, sit here. You all Ganapatyas. So take your favorite devata, put them in the middle. They are Brahman, they are everything to you. They are the highest form of devata that exists, the highest personality of divinity. So put them in the middle. Put everyone else around as Anga Devatas. Do worship to all of them. Put Vishnu in the middle. So my ideal Panchayatana would have Narasimha Swami in the middle. But I will still do worship to Shiva, Vishnu, Ganesha, and Saras and Devi all around, no doubt, with utmost bhakti. In the same way, someone whose favorite devata is Dakshinamurti, they will put Shiva in the middle. But they will also do puja to Devi, Ganesha, Vishnu, and Surya around. In this way, regardless of whichever devata you hold the most, you will still be holding them the most dear, and you are still worshipping everyone else and showing them respect. So with this small idea of Panchayatana puja, Bhagavad was able to restore unity to all forms of Arsha Aradhana, all forms of Sanatana worship. So why did Bhagavad do all this Vadana, and why did he do all this to protect these forms of worship? Agravadi Vijayam no Manahetor Vyadhat. Ugravadi Vijayam no Manahetor Vyadhat. He did not do all of this. He did not argue. He did not do this Jaitra Yatra to prove his prowess as the greatest argumentator of all. He did it because he Vaidika Margam Rakshitum, right? So Kalyado Parvatisha Pravarasuragana Prarthita Shrautavatma Prabalyan Netu Kamaha Yativaravapusha Agatya. His one goal is to make sure that Veda Vangmaya, Veda Sampradaya, Vaidika Sampradaya, Vaidika Jnana is preserved. And it is that ideal of Bhagavad that every single one of the Jagat Gurus in all the Shankara Pithas have been living with every breath that they take every day. Their one goal is to keep Vaidika Dharma and Shastras alive. If you look at the patra, the Ahvana patra that was sent out for Mahasinidhanamaru's Vardhanti this year to the 71 Panditas that were fortunate enough to receive Satkara at the hands of Jagadgurus, it says that Gauri Shankarji and all the other Matha officials, Shri Gauri Shankarji and all the Matha officials went and asked Mahasinidhanamaru, we have made arrangements for the Chandi Yagas, Rudra Homas, all of these Daiva Karikramas we have done. Is there any other way we can serve you and cause happiness to Jagadguru? And he says the words there are very nice. I do not recall them from Sanskrit, but something like Nasmakam Priyataram. He says there is nothing, but Mahasanandhamara says there is nothing more dear to us than the protection and propagation of Vaidika Dharma and Shastras, which is why they then called all the Panditas who the Jagadgurus felt were the pillars of Sanatana Dharma standing in the world today, who are doing the most of preserving Shastras, who are doing most of teaching Shastras. Called them all such great teachers and Panditas, they all called and did Satkara of them. So that is the one goal that the Jagadgurus today have at heart, and that is because this is a sankalpa, this is a goal, this is a movement that has been passed down from Bhagavat Pada himself. So no manahetor vyadhat, he did not do this for his own ego. He did this for the protection of Vaidika Dharma. And then, now that the Digvijayam Yatra was done, he stayed on the banks of the Ganga for a bit, where he got darshan of Gauda Bhagavat Padacharya in Dhyana. Dhyana Moolam Gurur Murti. Gauda Bhagavat Pada did not come to him in person like Vyasa. He appeared to Bhagavat Pada in Dhyana. That happens to this day. The Guru Murti is very much a Dhyaya Murti. Once, someone went to Chandrasekhara Bharati Swami and they asked, Swami, Guru, Jagat Guru, I have a mantra that I am doing upasana of. I find the Devata Vigraha a bit hard and quite frankly a tad bit grotesque to dhyana of. So some Devatas, of course, because there is intense tattva behind it, some Devatas will be very weird or scary for the layman to look at. So he said, it is very hard for me to conceptualize this Devata. Is there any way that I can perhaps visualize a different form of that Devata, or is there anything else I can do dhyana of as I do mantra japa? Then Jagadguru Chandrasekhara Bharati Mahaswami said, are you doing this with any kamya phala in mind? He said, no. So then Jagadguru said, so you're doing this purely for the purification of your mind and for the anugraha of the Devata? He said, yes. So he said, do dhyana of, so the Guru of Chandrasekhara Bharati Swami is who? Satchidananda Shivabhinava Narasimha Bharati Swami. So he said, do dhyana of that murti, because I'm sure you will agree that murti brought happiness to everyone that saw it. So there is nothing wrong with doing dhyana of the murti of the Guru as you do mantra japa. So as Bhagavat Pada was doing japa one day, as he was doing anusthana, as he was doing his anhika anushtanas, he got darshan of Gaudapadacharya, who is the one that wrote the karikas for the Mandukya. So a lot of the sayings that we have today, Maya Matramidam Dvaitam Advaitam Paramarthata. So in the Bharati Tirtha Granthamala that Sringeri publishes, the Matha publishes. So in all the texts, so they have published, they came out with this new version, this new Vyakhyana of a commentary on Tarkasangraha. So Annam Bhatta's Tarkasangraha called Shekhari. So Shekhari Kritya Guruvangri Pranamya Shashishekharam Shekharo Vidushankurve, he says. He says, so putting the Guru's feet upon my Shekhara, upon my head, Pranamya Shashishekharam, having the namaskara to the person who is Chandrasekhara, I who am the Shekhara of Vidushas, I who am the foremost of Panditas, am not doing this Shekhara Vyakhyana. So Bharati Tirtha Mahaswami asked Vidwan, the Tarka genius, the greatest, one of the foremost Tarka Panditas we have today, Shri Vidwan Navin Hollaji, to correct the manuscript that they found, and then to fill up the last, I think, Anumana Paricheda and Shabda Paricheda were incomplete. So he asked them to fill it up. So this is one of the books. Then they have also brought out some Veda Bhagas. So like this Bharati Tirtha Granthamala is a series of publications by the Matha. All of them have this beautiful picture of Saraswati on their front. I love that picture of Saraswati Devi. Underneath, the logo is Advaitam Paramarthataha. So Advaita is the ultimate truth. This Dvaita is only for the sake of Vyavahara. Maya Matramidam Dvaitam Advaitam Paramarthata. So Gauda Bhagavad Padacharya uses the word Advaita there in the Mandukya Karikas. So that those Mandukya Karikas, Bhagavad Pada, when he wrote commentary on Mandukya Upanishad, he also wrote commentary for Gaudapadacharya's Mandukya Karikas as well. So Gaudapadacharya appeared to, Gauda Bhagavad Padacharya appeared to Shankara Bhagavad Pada in his dhyana and expressed his approval of Bhagavad Pada's commentary there. So that is one fortune. And there Bhagavad Pada was staying on the banks of the Ganga. Bhagavad Pada has given us two stotras on Ganga. One is, both are very beautiful. One is the Ganga Stotra, Devi Sureshwari Bhagavati Gange Tribhuvana Tarini Tarala Tarange Shankara Mauli Virajini Vimale Ami Matirastan Tava Padakamale Bhagirathi Sukadayini Matastava Jala Mahima Nigame Khyataha Matar Gange Tvayo Bhaktaha Kilatandrashtum Nayama Shaktaha Patitodharini Janhavi Gange Khandita Girivara Mandita Bhange. So Bhishma Janani He Munivara Kanye Patitodharini Tribhuvana Danye Kalbalatamiva Phaladan Loke Pranamati Yastvam Napatite Shoke. So like this, the stotra itself flows like Ganga, and the meaning, of course, Varamahanire Kamatho Minaha. So he says it is better, Devi, to be a crab or a tortoise or a fish in your water than Tavanahidure and Rapati Kulinaha. I bet it is better to be a tortoise or a fish in your water than to be born among the most noble of kingly lineages and be far from you. So that is one stotra that he did. And then Gangashtaka. Gangashtaka is also very beautiful. It is Namaskaram to the waters of Ganga. Majjan Matanga Kumbhachuta Mada Madiramoda Mattali Jalam Snanai Siddhangananam Kuchayuga Vigalat Kunkuma Sanga Pingam Sayam Pratar Muninam Sayam Pratar Muninam Kusha Sayam Pratar Muninam Kusha Kusumachayesh Channa Tirasthaniram Payanno Gangamam Karikalabha Karakranta Ramhastarangam. Beautiful shloka. So if the previous stotra flowed like Ganga flowing in a Saumya way, this flows like Ganga in a Gambhira way. So when Ganga rises up with tall waves and tarangas, this flows like that. So Ganga's waters, how are those Ganga waters? Majjan Matanga Kumbhachuta Mada Madiramoda Mattali Jalam. So elephants have this secretion called Dana Jala, Madajala. So that jala, that secretion, it is, I think it is slightly basic in nature, and it is very sweet smelling. So the bees are drawn to it. So when these great tuskers, these great elephants take a dip in it, their madajala gets mixed with the water, and bees are drawn to that water. Sthanai Siddhangananam Kuchayuga Vilasat Kunkuma Sanga Pingam. In addition to the madajala of these elephants, another thing has also mixed in this water. The kunkuma and gandha from the chests of Siddhangana Stris, so Divya Stris, Devata Stris, come to do bath in these waters because Ganga is the Devata Nadi. So all the perfumes and the lotions that they have applied to their body, which back then were natural, they would apply kunkuma and chandana to their body. So all of that is mixing in the water, and not just the kingliness of elephants or the Shringara Saundarya of these Nari Ratnas who are doing snanam there, but there is also a pavitra aspect to it. Sayam pratar muninam kusha kusumachayesh channatirasthaniram. So always we talked about Shraddhava Apaha means Shraddha Purvaka Karma Samavainya Apaha. Water and karma and Shraddha always are together in Sanatana Dharma. So Munis, these great yogis, Upasakas, Maharshis are all doing their anushtanas on the banks of that Ganga. And their darbhas and the flowers and all that they use, they eventually just pour into Ganga. So the banks and the water on the banks of the Ganga is covered with these with the darbhas and flowers that are the nirmalya of the pujas that these munis are offering. So may that Gangam Amba, may that water of the Ganga river, may that protect you. One thing here, please use the Sanskritam names when talking about these Indian places. So the Greeks came and called it the Ganges because that is what they would call it in their language. But we, being Indians coming from a Bharatiya Sampradaya, let us please call Ganga its name in a Bharatiya language. Let us not call it the Ganges. Let us stick to Ganga. Gam Gachati iti Ganga, because the word name Ganga speaks to Ganga Devi's Karuna, because she came herself to the earth. Gam Gachati. So Ganga, Kachpratya, I think, comes there. So that is the nature of Ganga. So let us refer to her with that name. So while Bhagavatpada was staying on the Tira of Ganga in that way, someone came, one Pandita came and told him about the fact that there is one Sarvajna Pitha in Kashmir. But the way that he said it is very nice. Jambudvipam shasyate syam prithivyam tatrapyetan mandalam bharatakyam Kashmirakhyam mandalam tatra shastam yatraste sau sharada vagadhisha. So, of this entire world, Jambudvipa is the greatest. Within this Jambudvipa, Bharata Khanda is very sacred. Within this Bharata Khanda, the Kashmir Desha is very sacred because Sharada Devi herself has taken up residence there. So just a reminder that Bharata Desha, we should be proud to be Indians, to have Indian blood, to have Indian heritage. Bhagavatpada is our forefathers, the people that we look up to, the people that have given us the culture and the samskaras that we carry today are such great people like Vyasa Maharshi, Bhagavatpada. In the Kshatriya Sampradaya, we have great kings, dharmic kings like Krishnadevaraya, Shivaji, all of the Dilipa, Shibi, Rama, Raghu, all of these kings we have to look up to. Great bhaktas we have, Ambarisha, Kuchela, Sanandana, and then there are the Gopi Stris in this country. Every single section of society, every gender, every class, every whatever division that people can impose on us, from every division of that society, there have been gem stalwarts and most importantly noble men that have come. So this is our birthright, this is our heritage, this is the treasure that our ancestors have given us. So let us revere it and look up to it. That is why they say Bharatakyam Shastam. Bharata Desha is widely acclaimed. It is the karma bhumi. This is where work, when done, finds the greatest fruition. So within this Punya Dhatri, within this Bharata Desha, Kashmira is like the crown, right? Even if we think that Bharata Mata is the body of the Desha, Kashmira is the crown. So it is important that actually the Matha, I remember that the Sharada Matha, I think a couple of years back, had even written, they had written a letter to the PM, to Modi, asking that currently this Sharada Pitha is in POK, so Pakistan occupied Kashmir. So they were asking that the government arrange some sort of come to some sort of arrangement that once a year Sanatana Dharmis are allowed to make a Tirtha Yatra to that Sharada Pitha, do Namaskaram to Sharada Devi and come back. So that Sharada Pitham is there in Kashmir, and Devya Geham Yatra Sarvajna Pitham. So there is a Sarvajna Pitha there, and this is a Pitha, namely a throne, that is only ascended by Sarvajnas, one people who are omniscient in all the Shastras. And this Pitha has 4 doors. So whichever Desha that the Pandita comes from, they will open that door and go in. Prachyam Prachaha. So like that, all the different, so from the north, the east and the west, Panditas have come and sat upon that. But the Daksham, na Dakshinatyaha, na Dakshinam Dwaram. So the Dakshinadwara, the southern door, had remained closed. So whether it is because the south is the southern deshas of Karnataka, Dravida, Andhra, Keralas, whether it is because these deshas are farthest and it is hard to get to Kashmir from here, or for whatever reason, the southern door has never been opened by a Dakshinatya Pandita. So very interestingly, more recently, Ganapati Muni, so Kavyakantha Ganapati Muni, who was in the 1800s, early 1900s, he, when he was a young boy, went to Navadvipa. And there, when they asked him to make his introduction, he said, Ganapati Riti Kavi Kulapati Rati Daksho Dakshinatyoham. My name is Ganapati. A 16-year-old boy is saying this with confidence. Ganapati Riti Kavikula Pati. He is 16 years old. And already he says, I am the king among poets. And Ati Dakshaha, I am very capable. Dakshinatyoham. I come from the south. So very proudly he said that. So like that, Bhagavatpada decided that there was one Ninda there. Tam kim sarvajnyas tadvaram udghatayantah daksha nadhanno tad udghatayanti. So all the other doors, the north, east, west doors have been opened. The southern door has not been opened. So there was one small Ninda then, that the south cannot produce Panditas. So Bhagavatpada decided, Tam kim vadantim viphalam vidhatum jagama devi nilayam jagama devi nilayaya hrishyan. So Bhagavatpada said, okay, I should get rid of this Kim Vadanti. So Kim Vadanti Janashvatihi. Kim vadanti is a untrue rumor. So vadanti is that which speaks. Kim vadanti, kutsitam vadanti, kim vadanti. So this kim does not mean a question word here, but there is a certain samasa where kim means a nicha. So kim prabhu, right? We get in sa kim prabhu. This comes in Bharavi's Kiratarjuna in the first shlokas. So Kim Prabhu means a Nicha Prabhu, a bad king. So like that, Kim Vadanti is a bad pukar, a bad rumor that has spread. So Bhagavad-pada, wanting to demolish this rumor, decided to Devi Nilayaya. So he's not treating this as some sort of a retreat where he can go and show his superiority again. He's treating this as a pilgrimage to Devi Nilayaya. Let me go to Devi's temple, and while I am there, let me also accomplish this. So as he went there, the test placed in front of him by Panditas was, this is the dictum that any person has to fulfill if they wish to enter the door and sit upon that Sarvajna Simhasana. Yah kaschidadyetu parikshitan chet vedakhilan na viditam mamanu itham bhavan vakti samunnati ichha datva pariksham vajadevatalayam. So whoever wants to go through this, Veda akhilam na aviditam mama anu itham vakti chet. So the person that wishes to cross these panditas, who are they're like the committee, right? So now we have a thesis review committee. So they will have the doctorate student, the graduate student needs to do thesis defense in front of professors. So like that, the person who wishes to become a Sarvajna needs to answer the questions put to him by these great panditas. And the confidence, only if this person, the pandita, can say this, Veda akhilam, I know all. Nasti mamanu, nasti naviditam mama anu. There is not even an atom, not even an iota of information that is unknown to me. So if you can say this, then pariksham datva. So answer, pass our test, and then Vraja Devatalayam, by all means go and sit. So different darshanas come now and ask Bhagavad-pada different questions. So the Karnada Mata came. So the Vaisheshika Mata came and they asked, two kanas, two anus form a dvyanuka. What is the difference between the anutva of an anu and the anutva of a dvyanuka? So first I need to give some background. The Karnada Mata is a system of thought that accepts atoms. So they say that this world, its root form is paramanus, which are nitya, and there are Prithvi Paramanus, Jala Paramanus, Akasha Paramanus, Vayu Paramanus, and all of this. And these Paramanus mix together in different proportions, and that forms the world. So a Paramanu is the smallest division of matter that the Karnadas accept. So when these two Paramanus come together, they form a Dvyanuka. When three Dvyanukas come together, they form a Triyanuka. So like that, it goes up. But two Paramanus come together and form a Dvyanuka. So Paramanu and Dvyanuka, both of these are said to have Anutva. After this, anything bigger than a Dvyanuka is said to have Mahatva. So what is the difference between the Anutva of one Anu and the Anutva of a Dvyanuka? Because if Anu has Anutva, Dvyanuka should have magnified Anutva. But that is not the case. Both of them are said to have Samana Anutva. Why is this? So this is the question that the Karnadas have asked Bhagavad-pada. Bhagavad-pada replies, the answer lies in the Vaisheshika Sutras itself, written by Kanada Maharshi. There is a sutra called Karana Bahutvatcha. So Karana Bahutvat, because there is an exception given. So the maxim is anything that is, whatever applies at the micro scale, applies in the macro scale at a larger degree. So if something works at a small level, that same thing will be there in a greater level at the macro level. So there is a sutra though, in Karnada Mata, that says that there is an exception for Dhyanukas. So what he says is Karana Bahutvacha. So there are three things. So the cha, Karana Bahutvat cha. The cha, by the cha, Karana Mahatva Prachaya Vishishtatva Grahanam is given. So there are three things that could cause exceptions. Karana Bahutva, Karana Mahatva, Prachaya Vishesha. Karana Bahutva means there being numerous causes. So there being numerous kanas, right, that form a Dhyanuka is one thing. Karana Mahatva, the size of the things depends on the output. Prachaya Vishesha. So the way that the inputs are arranged will affect the output. So Karana Bahutvat, by the cha, the Karana Mahatva and Prachaya Visheshta Grahana happens. So this is the answer that Bhagavad-pada gave, and they were satisfied. And then next the Nyaya school came. So you have just answered the Kanada school and you have shown your knowledge of the Kanada Sutra. So now we are asking, what is the difference in moksha between Kanadas and Nayayikas? So Kanadas are Kanada Maharshi's Mata, which is Vaisheshika. Nayayikas is Gautama Maharshi's Gautama or Gautama Maharshi's Mata. So what is the difference in moksha between these two? So Bhagavatpada replied, in Kanadas, moksha is the lack of attributes. So nabhovat, atyantanashe gunasangatirya sthitir nabhovat is what Bhagavatpada is, what the words that are in Digvijayam. So for the Kanadas, when all qualities fall away, so when all qualities attain atyantanasha, so atyanta bhava, not atyanta bhava, but atyantanasha means those will never come back up again. So guna sangati. So the association with gunas. So when the association with gunas becomes permanently destroyed, meaning when all qualities. So qualities, what are the qualities? So the qualities are rupa rasa gandha sparsha sankhya parimana prathatva paratva sanyoga vibhaga. So like this, these are all the gunaha, chaturvimshati gunaha. There are 24 gunas that the Nayayikas accept, and Nayayikas or Vaisheshikas, and they say that the lack of all these gunas in Navya Nyaya, there are 24 gunas. The lack of these gunas is moksha. But Nayayikas say it is not just the lack of these gunas, but Charanaksha Pakshe. So Charanaksha, Akshapada is Gautama Maharshi. Sananda Samvit Sahita Vimuktihi. So there is not just a lack of qualities, but the Nayayikas, the Gautama Mata says that there is also an aspect of Ananda in moksha. So this is the difference. The Kanadas say that only lack of gunas is moksha. The Nayayikas say that the lack of gunas, but also with the element of Ananda is moksha. So he satisfied the Nayayika Prashnikas as well. Then the Sankhyas came. So they came and asked, is Prakriti dependent on Jna or independent on Jna? Jna being Purusha, the conscious entity. Kimva Swatantra, Kimuva Swatantra, Kimuva Swatantra. Kimva Swatantra, Kimuva Swatantra. Kimva Swatantra, no. So Kimva Swatantra, Kim Adhisthita cha. So is this Swatantra or Adhishtita? Is Prakriti Swatantra? So does she act of her own accord or Chid Adhishtita? Does Chaitanya have to impose its will on Prakriti? This is what they asked. So Bhagavatpada said, Sa Vishwayonir Bahurupa Bhagini, Sa Vishwayonir Bahurupa Bhagini, Swayam Swatantra, Trigudatmika Sati. So he says, no, in the Sankhya philosophy, Prakriti is very much Swatantra. She is Vishwayoni. So this entire world is created from Prakriti. So from that Mahat, from that Prakriti came the rest of the Tattvas. So in the Chaturvimsha Tattvas, the Purusha being the 25th, so aside from the Purusha, the rest of the Tattvas all come from Prakriti. So she is Bahurupa Bhagini. So it is that Prakriti that is dividing itself into the rest of those Tattvas. Swayam Swatantra Triguణatmika, and it is made from the weaving of the three gunas. So it is the Sankhyas that also discuss these three gunas. So Satyam, Sattvam, Laghu, Prakashikam, Ishtam. So it talks about the different things. So Sattva means Laghu, that which is subtle, Prakashikam, of the nature of Kanti, of the nature of Chaitanya. Ishtam, that which causes happiness. And then like this, they detail the three gunas. So he not only answered the Sankhya, but he said, so you asked whether it is Swatantra or Paratantra, whether it's dependent or independent on Chaitanya. Saying that is independent is your paksha, but we hold that Prakriti is Chid Adhishtita. Only when Chaitanya lends its Shakti to Prakriti is Prakriti able to create anything. So thus he satisfied the Sankhyas. Then the Bauddhas, Jainas came, they answered their questions. Then the Mimamsakas came finally. And they asked, is Shabda a Dravya or a Guna? So a Dravya is a Padartha, a thing. A Guna is a quality. So is sound a thing or a quality? So in Nyaya, Shabda is a Guna. So in that line I quoted, so Shabda Rupa Rasa Gandha Sparsha Sankhya Parimana Prathakta Aparatta Sanyoga Vibhaga, all of in those 24, in those Chaturvimshati Guna, in those 24 gunas, Shabda comes. So in the Nyaya Paksha, Shabda is a Guna. Shabda Gunakama. So Shrotragrahyo Guna Shabdaha Akasha Matra Vritti is the Nyaya Paksha. So they say that sound is a quality that is present in Akasha, and it is only present, that is whose existence is contained to Akasha, and it is discernible. This quality is discernible by the ear. So the way how color is a quality that is only discernible by the eye, Shabda is a quality that is only discernible by the ear. But that is not the Mimamsaka Paksha that Bhagavad-pada answers. So Bhagavad-pada obviously correctly answered. No, the Mimamsaka Paksha is Nitya Varna Sarvaga Shrotra Vedya Yat Tadrupam Shabda Jalancha Nityam Davyam Vyapiti. So he said, so Varnas are, so what do the Nayayikas say? Vividha Varnatmakaha Dhvanyatmakascha. So Dhvanyatmakas are just sounds. So meaningless sounds. So like if a plate falls on the ground, there is a sound. If a tree falls in the forest, there is a sound. If a waterfall is flowing, there is a sound. So such things are one sounds. These are called dhvanis. Then Varnatmakascha. So Samskrita Adi Bhasha Adi. Samskrita Mukhya Bhasha Swarupam. So there are languages that have letters like Sanskritam, Telugu, Tamil, Kannada, Hindi. All of these languages have letters. So this is called Varnatmaka. So in the Mimamsa Mata, this Varnatmaka Shabda and Shabda in general too, that is Shrotra Vedya, is, so the Varnas are Shrotra Vedya. So the letterness is Shrotra Vedyam, but the Shabda Jalam, so the Shabda Rashi itself is a Dravyam that is Anadi, that is Nityam. Because the reason why Mimamsakas need Shabdam to be Nitya and Anadi is because their life centers around Veda. Veda is Aparushaya and Nitya. So if Shabda is not Nitya, Vedas are nothing but Shabdas, Divya Shabdas, Alaukika Shabdas. So if Shabda becomes Anitya, then Veda will become Anitya. And they say that Veda is Nitya because even Surya Chandrama Dhata Yatha Purvama Kalpayata is the thing. So the Dhata, the creator of this world, creates the world exactly as he did in the previous cycle. So when he does that, he also reveals the Vedas exactly. So the Mimamsa Paksha is that Vedas do not even change from Kalpa to Kalpa. That is how permanent the Shabdas of the Vedas is. So Shabda Jalancha Nityam Dravyam Vyapi. So the Dravyam, so this is a Dravyam that is Nitya. So this is the answer that Bhagavad Pada gave. So obviously these are not as in-depth as the debate in the actual event would have been. But Vidyaranya Swami, as I said in the beginning, Nana Prashnottaraihi Ramya, in all these questions and answers that Bhagavad Pada has done in Vadas and other conversations throughout his Digvijaya, he teaches us a lot about Shastric concepts and different things that are there in our Shastras. So to give us a taste of that, he gives us examples of things that Bhagavad Pada could have answered and questions that those Purva Pakshis could have asked. So they all accepted. And very dramatically here, there he writes, so it is that Sarvajna Peeth has a Simhasana. So they open the Dakshina Dwara finally. And Bhagavad Pada, as Padmapada holds his hand, Pano Sanandana Masau Avalambya Tishtan. So as Padmapada is holding his hand, when I read this, the vision I got was in Navaratri Darbar, when the Jagadgurus are wearing the Rajavesha and have the Kirita, the way either Gauri Shankar Garu or Krishnamurti Garu, all these great all these trusted servants of Mahasanidhanam Varu, all these trusted agents of Mahasanidhanam Varu, the way that they hold his hand as he walks backwards, that was the thought that I thought of. So Padmapada is holding Bhagavad Pada's hand as he ascends the throne. As he is walking up the steps and is about to sit, he hears a Vani, and it is Sharada Devi herself asking, you being a sannyasi, it is not enough if you are a Vidyavan, you must also be a Shuddha. So this is a reminder. Bhagavad Devi says, Sarvajnataika Eva Bhavenna Hetuhu Pithadhirohe Parishuddhatacha. It is not enough if you are a Sarvajna to ascend this throne, you must also be Parishuddha, Paritaha, Shuddha, Sarvavidhaihi, Sarvavidheshu, Sarvavidhibhi, Shuddha, Sarvavidha Shuddha. So you must not only be a Vidyavan, you must also be pure in Trikaranas, by speech, thought and deed. So this is a reminder to us that in the Bharatiya system, especially in our Arsha Sampradaya, knowledge itself, being able to parrot Shastras back and forth, is not enough. Obviously, no disrespect to Shastra Panditas. I hold them in the highest regard. And Shastram is the life of Sanatana Dharma. No Shastram, no Dharma. Because this is all built on a system of rock-solid arguments, logical debates that have made sure that the knowledge that we have is filtered to make sure that whatever we get is clean, proper, and verified. So no disrespect to Shastra Panditas in any way at all. I have the utmost respect towards them. But the thing is, in our Sampradaya, if you are a Pandita but you have improper conduct, your Panditya is Vyartha. So we saw that in the beginning, when Vidyaranya Swami was describing the way that Bhagavatpada grew, he said, Vyasana Vihinasya Vidyeva Vyasana Vihina Buddhasya, he said. So just as Vidya grows only when a Buddha is free of Vyasanas, is free of bad habits, in the same way, Vidya is only Saphala. Vidya only meets its true purpose when it finds place in a Shuddha Manas. So that is what Saraswati Devi says. It is not enough to be Sarvajna to ascend this throne, you must also be pure. You spent several days experiencing sexual pleasures, experiencing kama bhogas in the body of the king Amaruka. What is your response to that? Are you still pure? Bhagavad Pada says two things. One, this is not a vachika karma, it is only twofold, right? It is with the body and with the mind. So if you're asking about my mind is asanga. My mind is not attached to these laukika vishayas. So just as Krishna Paramatma was a brahmachari, although he was with 16,000 wives, in the same way, although my body was with all those wives, my mind was unattached to it. My mind was yasya brahmani ramate jittam nandati nandati nandatyevam. My mind was there. Second, if you're asking about the body, my body that is ascending the speedha right now is the body of a sannyasa. The upadhi, the body that did that was the body of the king. So this body is pure, my mind is pure, and my speech is pure. So Devi accedes and Bhagavatpada ascends the throne. This is the peak of Digvijaya. So just as Ramapatta Abhisheka is the crowning moment of Ramayana, in the same way Bhagavatpada Sarvajna Pitha Simhasana Adhirohana is the crowning moment. So here Vidyaranya Swami writes, Vada Pradur Vinoda Pratikathana Sudhi Vada Pradur Vinoda Pratikathana Sudhi Vada Durvara Tarka Nyakara Svaira Dhati Bharita Haridupanyasta Mahanubhavyaha Sarvajno Vastu Marhastvamiti Bahumata Sphara Bharatya Mogha Shlagha Jogushyamanaha Jayati Yatipate Sharada Pitha Shlagha Jogushyamanaha Bharatya Mogha Shlagha Jogushyamanaha Jayati Yatipate Sharada Pitha Vijayam to Bhagavatpada, Vijayam to Bhagavatpada Sampradaya, Vijayam to his Adhirohana of the Sharada Pitha of the Sarvajna Pitha is what he is writing here. So having thrown aside the almost irrefutable arguments of his pratipakshis, he ascended the Simhasana while Bharati herself, Sakshat Devi herself is saying, Sarvajna Vastum Arha, you are deserving, you are a Sarvajna, as Devi herself, as Sharada Devi herself puts her stamp of approval upon Bhagavatpada, Shlagha Jogushyamanaha, Gushyate, Jogushyate, meaning Visheshena va punah ghushyate iti jogushyate. Ghushyati visheshena punah va jogushyati. So jogushyamanaha becomes a shanach then on that. Meaning one who is being praised again and again to a great degree becomes jogushyamanaha. So may that Bhagavatpada, that Vijayam to that Bhagavatpada, Vijayam to his ascension of the Sharada Pitha, Vijayam to that Sarvajna Simhasana. So after doing this, his Avatara Karyam is basically complete. He retired to Badari, and from there he sent out his Shishyas to the four corners of the Desha to set up the four Amnaya Pithas. So representing the four Vedas in Sringeri in the south, Badari and Puri, Puri and Dwaraka in the east, Puri in the west, or Dwaraka and Puri in the east and west, and then Badari in the north. So these four pithas he set up, made Sringeri the Raja Pitha, the Sarvabhauma Pitha of these, which in matters of dispute between other pithas, Sringeri needs to resolve it. Within Sringeri, the Veda being Yajurveda and Aham Brahmasmi being the Mahavakya, and the Kshetra being Rameshwara, the Devata being Varaha, the Kshetra being Sringagiri, the Tirtha being Tungabhadra, all of these he lays out in a text called Amnaya Anushasana or Mahanashasana, it is called Mathanashasana. it is called. So there Bhagavad-pada details all the, he writes out all the details of what kinds of people, sacha matsthanam arhati, he says. So Jitendriyaha, Veda Vedanga Vit. So he should be in control of his senses. He should be knowing the Veda Vedangas. In Sringeri, he should be a brahmacharin that goes, that he should, the sannyasa ashrama should be given immediately after brahmacharya, and he should be someone who has studied Yajurveda. So thus, having set up the 4 pithas in the 4 corners of India, of Bharatavarsha, like forts, just as a king will set up forts to make sure that his borders are secure, Bhagavad-pada set up these 4 pithas in the 4 corners of India to make sure that India's wealth, which is jnana. So Vivekananda Swami said, every civilization has something to offer the world. No civilization is any less than the other, simply because we are all humans. Bhagavan has created all of us. So every civilization will have something to offer. But India, what India has to offer is philosophy. So one civilization can excel in science, one civilization can excel in law, one civilization can excel in politics, one civilization can be excelling in business. But what India has to offer to the world is Atma Jnana, philosophy. No one can match the sheer quality, and forget about quality, even volume. They cannot match even the volume of work that we have put in that is available today. So not counting that which has been destroyed in raids, burnt by those who have opposed these teachings, putting all that aside, it is said that Nalanda burnt for 9 days. So with all of those books and all aside, with what is left, the volume still is several times the volume of what others have produced. So this philosophy is India's gift to the world, is what Vivekananda Swami says. So to protect that wealth of philosophy, Bhagavad-pada put the 4 pithas in the 4 corners of India. And then his 32 years, his glorious avatara has finally come to an end. Evam prakare karikalmashagnai shivavatarasya shubhaishcharitrair dvatrimshat atyujjvala kirti rashehe samavyati yukkila shankarasya. So thus, with these leelas that remove the doshas caused by Kali Yuga, Bhagavad-pada spent 32 years upon this earth. He was only supposed to have 8. By the blessings of Maharshis, he got another 8. And then at the age of 16, when he did Vada with Vyasa in Kashi, there itself he told Vyasa Bhagavan, please stay here, I will leave my body in front of you in Manikarnika Ghat and I will leave. Then Vyasa Maharshi said, no, there is still more that you have to do, so I am giving you another 16 years of life. So after having these 32 years of life, Bhagavad-pada finished his Avatara Karya. Obviously, he knows what needs to happen then. So then he goes to Kedara, close to the Himalayas, and there the Devatas are already ready to take him. Iti krita surakaryam netum ajarmurenam rajata shikhare shrungam tunga mishawataram vidhi shatamakha chandropendra vaivagni purva suranikara varenya sarshi sangha sasiddha. So to take Bhagavan back to his Rajata Shikhari Shrungam. So this is full circle, right? They said Rupya Chalasthitam. So that Rupya is this Rajata Shikhari, same thing. So to take him there, the Devatas come and they remind him of who he is. So just like at the end of Ramavatara, Durvasu Maharshi comes to remind Ramachandra that he is Vishnu. Like this, the Devatas come and say, Bhavanadyo Deva Kavalita Vishaha Kamadahana Puraratihi Vishwaprabhava Laya Vishwaprabhava Laya Hetu Stirinayanaha Yadarthangam Praptaha Bhavamadhana Vrittan Tadadhuna Tadaya Hiswargam Sapadi Girisha Asmat Priyakrite. So Bhagavan Shankara, you are not just some little boy that was born in the Keralas to Aryamba. Bhavan Adyo Devaha, you are Rudro Maharshi. Rudro, he is the first. Prathamo Daivyo Bhishak. He is the first among the gods, and he is Daivyo Bhishak. He is the doctor. Bhishaje Bhavaroginam. But he is Prathamo Daivyo Bhishak. He is the first among the gods. So Adyo Devaha. Kavalita Vishaha. You are the one. You are the Devata who, to protect these worlds, just swallowed Visha. Sa Kalmasha. Pushpadanta very beautifully writes. So obviously that is how he became Nilakantha. It made a blemish on his throat. Sa Kalmasha Kanthe Tavana Kurute na Shriyamaho Vikaropi Shlagya Bhuvana Bhaya Bhanga Vyasaninaham. So he says, that Visha, Pushpadanta says in Shivamahimna Stotra, that Visha made a blotch. It made a discoloration on your throat. Normally, a discoloration is a detraction of beauty, but Bhagavan, it Tava nakurute na shriyamahu, and Bhagavan also says Kim Mani Vibhushanam, Kim te Neela Manir Vibhushanamiyam. It appeared like an adornation to Bhagavan. And Pushpadanta gives the drishtanta there. The Utpreksha is that Utpreksha. The reasoning that that Pushpadanta gives is Vikaropi Shlagya Bhuvana Bhaya Bhanga Vyasaninaha. Any act done to any act that is done in order to help someone else, that is done for paropakara, and especially if it is done to protect the whole world, only adorns the performer of that act. So although the Visha did cause a discoloration, it is a sign of Bhagavan's mercy and became an embellishment to his already immeasurable beauty. So he says, Yadartham gam praptaha bhavamathana vrittam tadadhana. So Bhagavan, the thing that we asked you for, so the Shrauta Vartma that we asked you to establish, Utsareya Khalan. So the thing that we asked you in the first sarga, please drive away the Durvadis and establish Vaidika Dharma, Tadidam Vrittam. It has been done. So please come back to Swarga. Please adorn Kailas again. Let us serve you again in Pradoshas. Let us see your Tandava again. Give us the fortune of worshipping you again. So Bhagavan, of course, says, okay. He lets go of his Parthiva Sharira. He lets go of his mortal body there. And Indropendra Pradhane Stridasha Parivradhaihi. Indropendra Pradhane Stridasha Parivradhaistu Yamana. Prasunair Divyair Abhyartyamana Sarasiruha Bhuva Dattahasta Valambaha. और ह्योक्षाणमग्र्यं प्रकटित सुजटाजोट चंद्रावतं सह शृण्वन्नालोक शब्दं समुदित ऋषिभिः धामनैजं प्रतस्थे. So as Indra, Upendra, as all of these devatas are doing stuti of him, prasunair divyaihi sarasiruha bhuva abhyarchyamanaha, as Brahma does, as these devatas are all worshipping him with flowers, sarasiruha bhuva datta hastavalambaha aruhyokshanam. So he got on top of Nandi. Nandi is also there. He's ready. He says, Bhagavan, it's been a while since you came on me. Please get on me. So to climb Nandi, just as he took Padmapada's hand to climb the Simhasana, sarasiruha bhuva datta hastavalambaha. So Brahma himself held Bhagavan's hand as he ascended Nandi. And he took upon his Daiva Vigraha again. So Prakatita Sujata Juta Chandravatamsa, with the Jata Jutas that had Jata Juta Baddha Ganga, right? So he with binding Ganga within his Jatas again, with the moon adorning it. Shrunvan Aloka Shabdam. Aloka Shabdam means Vandi Bhashitam. Aloko Vandi Bhashitam is what Amarakosha says. So, or one of the Koshas, either Amara or Vaijayanti, I forget. But Aloka is Vandi, the Vandi Magadha. So the praise, the praise that poets do is called Aloka Shabda. So listening to that, Samuditam Rishibhi, so accompanied, engladdened, rejoicing with all the rishis, with all the Brahmarshis around him, Dhama Naijam Pratasthe. So Bhagavan Paramashiva eventually reached Kailasa, and this is the last shloka of Shankara Digvijaya. So such is the charitra of Bhagavat Pada, as Pushpadanta says in Shiva Mahimna Stotra again. Asitagiri samam syat kajjalam sindhu patre surataruvar shakha lekhani patramurvi likhiti yadi grihitva sharada sarvakalam tadapita vagunanam isha parannayati. He says, Ishvara, even if the branch of the kalpavriksha is made into the pen, and to make ink, let us say you make Meru Parvata into Kajjala, into Anjana, into eyeliner, and mix it into the ocean to make ink. So if you make Kalpavriksha's branch the pen, and if you make a mountain of Anjana mixed into coal, eyeliner, a mix coal, not COAL coal, KOHL coal. So when you mix that into the ocean, if you make that the ink, and if Sharada herself, namely the goddess of learning herself, the Devata, the Adhisthana Devata of learning herself, if she takes and writes Sarvakalam for all of time, even then she will not reach the end of your glory. Isha Tava Mahimnaha Param Nayati. So whatever applies for Paramashiva applies for Bhagavat Pada, and whatever feeble attempts I have said will obviously pale in front of the magnitude of what he did. One man, let us set aside the Daivatva of Bhagavat Pada. He came in a human body. One man, one illustrious man, one enlightened man turned all of India, changed all of India. He rejuvenated all the Aradhana methods. He established a Vedanta. If you think, even in Laukika mortal terms, if you think of the magnitude of what Bhagavatpada accomplished, it is mind-boggling. On foot, to go and not just win over, but to convince scholarly circles all around the country that Advaita is the Paramatatparya, to do this on foot, one man. Is it possible? And the systems that he has set up, the Matha system that he set up, Sringeri, Dwaraka, Puri, Badri, Kanchi. So Sringeri, Dwaraka, Puri, Kanchi, all of these mathas are still having paramparas to this day, and are doing exactly what Bhagavatpada did. What company has lasted several hundreds of years? What company has lasted centuries? Bhagavatpada has made an institution, has made not just an institution, but institutions that have spanned centuries without compromising on quality. So it is our fortune to be born into, or whether we were born into this parampara or not, it is our fortune to be able to be devoted to this parampara and be and partake in all the work that he did for our benefit. So what did he get out of this? There is nothing that he did for himself in this. Every single action that he did, from writing bhashyas to defeating other vadis, to even being ready to give his head to a Kapalika, to a Bhairava, all of this was done for whom? For us, for our sakes, which is why the only way we can even attempt to start paying back whatever fraction of a fraction of a fraction of our debt to him is threefold. Study his charitra, of course, number one, but two, do our duty of studying the works that he gave us, and serving his institutions is three. Fourth, actually, I guess, is living the life the way he would want us to live life. So Bhagavatpada gave us two Saraswatis. One is Sthira Sharada, one is Chara Sharada. So Sthira Sharada is the Sharada that he did Pratishtha of in Sringeri. Chara Sharada is the Sharada that will walk and is compassionate to even talk to us, namely the Jagat Gurus that sit astride that Pitham. So in order to not pay back the debt to Bhagavatpada, but in order to at least show Kritagnyata, to not get the Kritagnyata dosha, to at least show our gratitude to Bhagavatpada. Gratitude isn't even the right word, because we owe him. Without him, we would not be living the life that we do today. We would not have the gurus that we do today. So we most certainly owe him, and it is expected that we need to be a certain way. So reading his charitra and learning his charitra is only one part of it. So I forget which Acharya said this, but there are two employees to an employer. One of them will come every day and do mukhastuti of the employer and say, you are this great, you are that great, you are amazing, you are amazing. The other employee will show the utmost respect to the employer, but will also do the tasks that the employer sets for him. Which employee of these two will the employer like more? So in addition to showing respect to Bhagavatpada, in addition to being devoted to his charitra, in addition to doing Parayana of Digvijaya, even Sannidhanam Varu said this in, I don't know what, I did not listen to his Kannada Anugraha Bhashana and his Tamil Anugraha Bhashana on Shankara Jayanti last year. But in doing his Telugu Anugraha Bhashana, he said that part of the Aradhana is doing the Namashankaraya Japa, doing Shankara Digvijaya Parayana, and doing Namaskaram to Bhagavatpada, and doing Puja to Bhagavatpada, and all that. But there is another half to it, which is learning what he wrote and living the way he would want us to live. Living a Vaidika Jivana, with Astikya, living a life of Shraddha, and whatever day. So reading something that he wrote every day. So as we have said, the greatness of Bhagavatpada's Karuna is, Mahasanidhanam Varu says this again and again and again in his Vijaya Yatras. There is no excuse for not reading something that Bhagavatpada wrote. Zero excuse. There is zero excuse for not studying the Vangmaya that Bhagavatpada gave us, because he gave something that will appeal to everyone. If you want to do intense scholarly study, having had some experience in the Shastras, Prasthanatrayi Bhashya, go, do Brahmasutra Vichara. If you want to set foot into the Vedanta Marga, fine, Prasthana Granthas. So, Prakarana Granthas, Atma Bodha, Tattva Bodha, Viveka Chudamani, Aparokshanubhuti, Panchikaranam, Dakshinamurti Stotram, all of this is there. All of this Vedanta and all, I cannot understand it yet. All I want to do is do Namaskaram to Bhagavan and understand who Bhagavan is. So many stotras: Saundarya Lahari, Shivananda Lahari, Ganesha Pancharatnam, Ganesha Ashtakam, Nrisimha Karavalamba Stotram, Nrisimha Pancharatnam, Kalyana Vrishistava, Kanakadhara, then Sharada Bhujanga Stotram. All of these stotras you heard: Shivananda Lahari, Shivashtakam, Shiva Bhujanga Prayatam, Rama Bhujanga Prayatam, Jagannathashtakam, Jagannatha Swami, Nayanapatha Gami Bhavatume. All of these: Gangashtakam, Yamunashtakam, Narmadashtakam. I don't know about Yamuna actually, but Ganga and Narmada. Then the Pratasmarana of Atma, Pratasmarami Hridam Spradatma Tattvam, Ardhanarishwara Stotra. How many stotras has he not given us? Bhajagovindam. No one is there in this earth, in a Bharatiya Kutumba, who will not understand Bhajagovindam. Tvayi mayi chanya traiko Vishnu vyartham kupyasi mayi yasahishnu. Even someone that does not know Samskrita will know this. Tvayi mayi cha anyatra eko Vishnu. There is one Vishnu within all of us. Eko deva sarvabhuteshu gudha sarvavyapi sarvabhutantaratma sakshi karmabhyaksha sakshi cheta kevalo nirgunascha. So that eko deva sarvabhuteshu gudha, that is there in Shvetashvatara Upanishad, that Bhagavad wrote bhashyam for, that acharyas have written bhashyam for. He puts into easy terms for us. Tvayi mayicha anyatra eko Vishnu. There is only one Vishnu in you, in me, and elsewhere. This is something that is very easy. The things that he told us to do: Geyam Gita Nama Sahasram, Dheyam Shripati Rupamajasram, Neyam Sajjana Sange Chittam, Deyam Dina Janaya Chavittam. Geyam Gita. Do Bhagavad Gita Parayana, learn Bhagavad Gita. Mahasanidhanam Varu has the Gita initiative. So please do that. Geyam Gita Nama Sahasram. Dhyayam Shripati Rupamajasram. Do Dhyana. Shripati is not just Vishnu. It is an Upalakshana for any Bhagavad form, Bhagavad Rupa. Vishnu, Shiva, Devi, Ganesha, Surya, any Devata that you want. Please do Dhyana of Deva, Bhagavan. Set aside some time for Adhyatmika Sadhana, for Dhyana every day. Neyam Sajjana Sange Chittam. So spend your time. Put your heart with good people. Do not fall into the association of bad people. Deyam Dinajanaya Chivittam. Do not give your money to celebrities. They have no need for your money, and you don't even know what they will use it for. Give your money to those who need it. Give your money to a place where it will be used for dharma. Give it to a place where it will be used for sampradaya parirakshana. Give it to a place, forget even the sampradaya and dharma. Give it to someone that needs it. There are plenty of people in India that need food to eat, that need clothes on their back. Give money to them. Don't give money to people who are already rich and who are floating in money. Simple thing to do. Then Ganga Jalalava Kanika Pita. Bhagavad Gita Kinchidadhita Ganga Jalalava Kanika Pita Sakridapiyena Murari Samarcha Kriyate Tasya Yamena Nacharcha. One of the greatest fears that we all have as humans is fear of mortality. We fear death. We fear not existing. It is not even the death that we fear. We fear not existing at any given point of time. So if you want to conquer death, Bhagavad Pada gives us 3 easy steps. Geyam Gita, the Bhagavad Gita Kinchidadhita. Study and learn the jnana in Bhagavad Gita. Geyam Gita, Ganga Jalalava Kanika Pita. Drink Ganga Jala. Sakridapiyena Murari Samarcha. Do upasana of Bhagavan wholeheartedly. Kriyate Tasya Yamena Na Charcha. There is such a person will have no quarrel with Yama at all. Once someone asked me to summarize, a little kid actually asked me to summarize what Bhagavad Pada's teachings for us are. So the way my gurus have taught it to me is, there are 3 kandas that we have discussed before, and there are 3 yogas generally. So Jnana Yoga, Karma Yoga, Upasana Yoga. Karma Yoga is doing karma that Veda has ordained for us without fail, but doing it without karma phala and offering the fruit of it to Ishvara. Upasana Yoga is doing meditation upon Bhagavan. Jnana Yoga is doing Vedanta Vichara, the pursuit of knowledge. So Bhagavad Pada said that an ideal life will have all 3. You need to do karma while trying to get jnana, while doing upasana. So do your karma without kama upon the phala. Make sure that you're also pursuing jnana in some way or the other on the side, and make sure that this is backed on both sides by upasana, by worship of Bhagavan, by bhakti. Either of these, so doing karma without bhakti or jnana sadhana without bhakti, is we have a saying in Telugu, Budida Bosina Panneer. It is like pouring good water into ash. It does not bear fruition. If no jnani has existed to this day who has not had bhakti towards Bhagavan. So That is the way that Bhagavad Pada wanted us to live our lives. Do Karma Yoga in pursuit of Jnana Yoga while maintaining Upasana Yoga. So the last prarthana that we need to do is every day. Shastram Shariram Imamsa. So this prarthana actually Mahasanidhanam Varu recommended to my Vedanta teacher. Once when my Vedanta teacher went to do Namaskaram, he said, I want the fortune of serving you. Mahasanidhanam Varu reminded him of this shloka and said, this is all that any of us need. So that is the shlokam. Shastram Shariram Imamsa Devastu Parameshwaraha Acharya Shankaracharya Santu me Janma Janmani Santu Janmani Janmani. So in all of my births, however many I have left, Shastram Shariram Imamsa. Let the darshana, let the philosophy that I ascribe to be that of Advaita Vedanta. Devastu Parameshwaraha. May the God that I worship in every birth be Parameshwara. Parameshwara is not just Shiva here. Basically, let me not worship Kshudra Devatas. Let me worship Paripurna Ishvara. So Vishnu, Shiva, Devi, who are all manifestations of Ishvara in his full-fledged form. So these are all the forms, as we've said numerous times, that are conducive to Brahmajnana. So let those be the devatas that I worship in all of my lives. Acharya Shankaracharya. Let my Guru Parampara be Bhagavad Pada's Parampara in every single one of my lives. So that is the prarthana that we all need to take away. If in any way my words, so actually I wrote once in a shloka, Guru Shri Padambhoja Seva Mahimna Dhyam Yat Prabhutam Tadatra Pranitam Gunas Swaminaha Sarva Dosha Madiyaha Iti Prathya Nityan Rasimham Namami. So this is one shloka that I have written before. So Guru Shri Padambhoja Seva Mahimna. By whatever little namaskaras I have done to the Gurus, so by the punya that has been accrued by doing namaskaram to Jagat Gurus, one namaskaram, we have seen that giving one amalaka to Bhagavat Padacharya gave such a fruit. So doing namaskaram once to Jagat Gurus also will bear a great fruit. So by doing that namaskara and by Gurus, by their kripa, whatever little, so although their kripa is great, this instrument is flawed, right? I am in no way perfect, nor am I qualified to talk about someone like Bhagavad Pada. So though their kripa is asima, this instrument's bhagya and this instrument's capabilities are limited. So with whatever namaskarams I have done to the Gurus and with whatever ashirvadas and whatever blessings they have given me, I have said whatever little I have learnt from the teachings of my Gurus. And Gunas Swaminaha, if there are any merits in what I have said, if there is anything good that I have done, if there are any positives in what I have said, all of that is nothing but the anugraha of Nrsimha Swami and the anugraha of Jagat Gurus, nothing that I have done. If doshaha madiyaha, if there are any things that I have said that are wrong, if there are any mistakes that I have committed, if there are any apacharas that I have committed, they are mine and mine alone. So with this namaskara to Nrsimha Swami and namaskarams to Jagat Gurus, who are the personification of that Nrsimha, of Sharadamba, of Ishvara, of Chandramaulishvara, with namaskarams to them, with namaskarams to my Gurus, with namaskarams to Parameshwara, with namaskarams to Sharadamba, I shall conclude this wonderful 6-day opportunity that I was fortunate enough to have undertook with this. Ityesha Vangmaye Puja Srimad Shankara Padayoh Arpita Tena Devesha Priyatam Me Sadashivaha Tava Tatvan Janami Kidrishosi Maheshwara Yadrishosi Mahadeva Tadrishaya Namo Namaha Karacharana Kritam Va Karma Vakkayajam Va Shravana Nayanajam Va Manasam Va Paradham Vihitam Avihitam Va Sarvametat Kshamasva Jaya Jaya Karunabdhe Shiva Shiva Karunabdhe Shri Mahadeva Shambho Prahlada Narada Parashara Pundarika Vyasadi Bhagavata Pungavarnivasa Bhakta Nurakta Paripalana Parijata Lakshmi Nrasimha Mamadehi Karavalambam Andhasya Me Hrita Viveka Mahadhanasya Choreihi Mahabalibhirindriya Namadheyahi Mohandhakara Kuhare Vinipatitasya Lakshmi Nrasimha Mamadehi Karavalambam Bharati Karunapatram Bharati Padabhushanam Bharati Padamarudham Bharati Tirthamashraye Vidya Vinaya Sampannam Vetaragam Vivekinam Vande Vedanta Tattvajnam Vidushekhara Bharatim Sadguru Charanara Vindabhyan Namaha Sadguru Charanaravindar Pranamastu. Swasti. Namaskar.